What's going on, guys?
What up? Welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back. Thank you.
Nice. So you're Xerox Omnia, co-founder of Kinetiq, which is a liquid staking protocol in Hyperliquid and the top DeFi protocol on the chain with over $2 billion in TVL, up 2x since we last spoke like a month or two ago. So growing like crazy. I think we also last time we spoke talked about your kind of upcoming HIP3 launchpad, which may or may not be live now. So yeah, we'd love to just have you catch us up on what the last few months have been like since we last talked.
For sure. Yeah, it's been very interesting to say the least. Um, we're obviously super proud that Kinetic has played a really interesting role in like sinking a lot of hype, if you will. Um, and what I mean by this is the protocol today kind of basically holds close to 14% of the circulating supply, um, roughly 4% of the total supply. So yeah, it's
Wow.
very interesting times. Obviously, we've also worked very closely with Veda to basically build the second largest vault in all of DeFi, a little bit over $400 million in deposits. So yeah, it's obviously been extremely fun, like being a critical part of the ecosystem. We do have this weird mantra, if you will, of basically making hype the perfect money Lego, and it all starts with liquid staking and also gets tied together through like having a proper DeFi offering as well, where people can basically work with the best infrastructure providers, deposit to very vetted protocols as well, and basically have a one-stop shop as well. I mean, uh, there's a huge, I guess you could say, industry around um, managed portfolios and doing this in like a really cool trustless way, where the Veda team with their experience can basically allocate on behalf of users is just it's a really special thing. And obviously it's been really cool to see vaults are like an age old thing in crypto, but doing it in a way where it's like really seamless and people can just like basically one click uh, deposit their assets and get it utilized from one place. It's just really really cool. And again, being done on Hyperliquid just makes it even more fun. So yeah, it's been really good. Yeah.
Can you catch us up on just sort of like the energy, and excitement, interestingness of what you're seeing built around HIP3 right now, and how you guys are playing in that space?
Yeah, 100%. It's been really cool to see. Hats off to the unit slash trade perps team who have basically gone the distance and basically shipped the first exchange. Excited to see a lot more come to life, but I mean those guys have absolutely been crushing it. So super super stoked for them and obviously setting the tone here. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of really exciting stuff. We would like to think that we've chatted with the most HIP3 deployers, which isn't an exciting metric by any means, but like in other words, like this really plays into the fact that we think we understand the landscape very, very well in terms of like what's being built. I mean, there's teams with ambition to bring perp markets for compute on chain, for funding rates, UST bills. I mean, like really, really interesting stuff. So overall, I think the ambition is definitely where it needs to be, and really excited to help spur that. We announced something a little while ago called Launch, which effectively is a crowdsourcing platform, kind of like Kickstarter for HIP3 exchanges. We've noticed that the common thread is sourcing stake has always been like a really interesting hurdle for teams, and obviously Kinetic, being this massive source of stake on Hyperliquid, by far the single largest source of concentrated tokens, if you will, with nearly 90% liquid staking market share on Hyperliquid, just proves that if any platform can build something that will be trustworthy for people to deposit into, it'd be Kinetic. We have one of the largest bug bounties in the industry at $5 million. We've done 4 audits as well with the likes of Spearbit, first public audit competition on Hyperliquid through C4. So yeah, we have ridiculous security standards in place, and it's just been part of the general culture on the development side
So
at Kinetic. And yeah, a lot of teams can inherit this, so yeah.
it was interesting. So we had the Eventuals team on a little while back, and one of the things we were discussing there was their choice to go and run their own sort of state crowdfund versus tap into other infrastructure that's out there. I'm curious how you see the
Yep.
landscape evolving over the next months and years.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I mean, it's very cool to see how many people were excited to stake there, and obviously huge hats off to them. I think what they're solving is something really, really interesting that is going to be really cool to see come to life. Pre-IPO trading is obviously something a lot of people would be excited for, and to be able to back it is a really, really special thing. I mean, it's the overall principle of why Launch as a platform was put together. And most recently, we announced an extension of the Launch platform because we really realized that HIP-3 is a very specific offering. It's very niche. There's an insane amount of technical requirements to actually get it over the line. We from the Kinetiq POV, we like to put things in place that make at least one of the really, really large hurdles something a lot easier to accomplish, especially if you have like a really solid vision, you have a burgeoning community behind you, et cetera. Like we make it very easy for people to co-own that exchange with you. That is important. That is like a really special role to play. But one thing that we cannot do is, I guess you could say like curate the markets for deployers or select the Oracle providers for them. So the Kinetiq Launch platform access something a little bit different, right? It's like more of like a hub where people that are looking to launch on through Kinetiq, like in terms of their HIP-3 exchange, they can tap into several Oracle providers. They can tap into several liquidity providers who are very interested in actually working with HIP-3 exchanges. But Kinetiq has almost become like, I don't know, glue of some sort for the broader ecosystem in a lot of ways. K-Hype is usually the largest market on pretty much every type of protocol on HyperEVM so far, which is spanning from DEXs to money markets to even Pendle, for example, where globally on Pendle, which is a platform with almost 10 billion in TVL, Kinetiq is the second largest single market, right? Sandwiched between Athena's SUSDE at top with like 2 billion in TVL and Athena's USDE market and third with roughly 800 million in TVL. So Kinetiq sits right in between with like 1.1 billion. So, I mean, it doesn't matter the platform, right? Kinetiq has really just allowed people to basically take their hype and basically do whatever they can possibly think of with it. So we have, funds that basically run market neutral trades that use K-Hype and buy ridiculous fixed yield on it through Pendle. That has been really interesting. People that LP their hype in really interesting ways. I mean, so this has been a never-ending list of things to do with hype and really becomes possible like a proper liquid staking protocol. So yeah, I mean, on the HIP-3 side, obviously the list further grows in terms of what could be done with liquid staking tokens for hype. But yeah, in other words, excited for what has occurred so far and very excited for what's next.
So we've been on this big kick recently, just thinking through the right time to launch a token and the different dynamics that kind of present themselves depending on when you do it. I saw you guys announced last week that the token is coming, or at least opened up registration for the token. So I'm interested in how you thought about timing around that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that is like from a team perspective, that's probably like the wrong approach to think about like when to time it, right? I think for us in our particular case, like it is going to make a lot of sense, like why the KNTQ token exists. The Kinetiq Foundation put out the terms of use for foundation signing and just the general Kinetiq protocol, which was a very exciting moment. I'm sure a lot of people had been confused as to timing and stuff, but the Kinetiq team is not focused at all on like timing markets or anything like that. We're really just focused on being an extremely integrated part of the Hyperliquid ecosystem day in, day out, and in every possible step of the way where it makes sense from the protocol POV. So for us, like, you check the chain, right? The ticker was acquired a year ago, well before the protocol itself went live. So this has been an intention for a very, very long time. It's not something that is like, licking your finger and sticking it up in the air. So yeah.
I mean, I think timing less from a market perspective and more in a kind of project lifecycle pre-post PMF perspective.
For sure. Yeah, that's a really good point and general, really great perspective, I think. I wouldn't say there's ever like a perfect time per se. Like sure, like some people will probably look at it from like the market timing POV, but that's never been like a concern for us. It's more so a matter of, where does the Kinetiq protocol sit on the totem pole of the ecosystem, not just from TVL perspective, but from general importance perspective, like how important is the liquidity for protocols, how much institutional liquidity has it brought in. The institutional side of Kinetiq has been really insane. We've lined up the largest custodian pretty much industry-wide, the first OCC federally chartered bank, which is Anchorage, that basically allows people to deposit K-Hype with them, right? So it's like a huge thing for even people who are really interested in Hyperliquid in the US, who can now stake and do so with a literal bank. So there's that, publicly traded companies stake with us. Yeah, it's just very, very interesting. And this is in several markets across North America, like the US itself, and in Canada, and soon even more, right? So the idea for us has been really building the infrastructure for like several types of participants and as many as we possibly can, while still being like having a very, very central product that is integral to the ecosystem. And I mean, if you really think about it, like, this is like a mind-blowing thing that we've realized about Kinetiq as well. It's like for institutions who want to basically acquire and then subsequently stake their hype, Kinetiq has been pretty much the only solution, unless they have a mandate that lets them basically interact with the core blockchain hypercore directly, which is usually not the case. It's usually a very, very long ways out, kind of bespoke 6 to 12 month integration, because this is a very, very new thing. It's completely proprietary. It's closed source as well. So a lot of people or teams in general like may not have mandates to get around this, but the Kinetiq protocol itself acquires stake on the EVM, which is very simple for teams to understand. They already have frameworks for this, and then handles all of the dirty work, if you will, of like simply moving the hype to hypercore and staking it natively on their behalf. So it's been a really, really interesting offering in general, and to see like how much pressure is relieved, like literally seeing it in people's eyes as we talk about it, is it's a very interesting, very special thing. But yeah,
Right.
I mean, those are the main things. Yeah.
Maybe before we let you go, just zooming out a little bit, not talking about your product, but you're obviously sitting in a lot of interesting meetings. You sort of see the future in a certain way. I'm curious, if you look out over the next 3 months, are we higher or are we lower?
Price-wise on hype?
You take that however you wish.
Yeah, okay. I would say significantly higher, personally. Something tells me that after people get over the initial mental hurdles of certain things, like for example, long-term capital gains, which I've seen be like one big thing people talk about in relation to the hype price or team unlock related stuff. People will notice that the Hyperliquid team is not in this for what probably 99% of teams in crypto are usually in it for. So yeah, I do believe it's significantly higher than it is today. It should be really fun, to say the least, to see what happens. But the most important part for us has basically been like, regardless of what market conditions look like, that Kinetiq still serves its intended purpose and grows from there. And like that's the only metric that we'll care about. But yeah, I hope that gives some color as to what my personal thoughts are. For sure.
I'm just looking for good clips here, brother. Good clips.
Yeah.
Kinetiq founder says higher. You are not bullish enough on
significantly higher. Significantly higher.
When do you expect launch to launch?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think ultimately it will be completely dependent on audit timelines. What we're doing does not have any prior framework. So working with auditors has always been really, really fun. When we were doing the initial Kinetiq audits, it was really wild to be the ones explaining to auditors how certain things work about Hyperliquid. So yeah, like essentially as soon as humanly possible. But another big thing as well has been just gauging, what teams really want to see, right? Like how much control would they like to have over their crowdfunding process? How much configuration would they want to have over how they can distribute their fees or governance on these exchanges? Because it is a critical part to consider when all of these teams subsequently will likely want to launch tokens of their own. So like there's some really, really critical design decisions that go into this, and making sure teams feel empowered enough to use the platform is super important. Now, I will say on the back of that, equally as important is the launch of permissionless LSTs, which we announced a few weeks ago. Now, where this gets really exciting is similarly to how, I guess you could say, any team can launch their own, governance token, but we're going for something I think very different in this particular case. Any Hyperliquid specific protocol should be able to go for their own, like own their distribution entirely, and instead of feeling like they must integrate K-Hype of some kind, you can simply use the same architecture from the LST perspective that K-Hype was built on top of and launch your own LST, right? Like seed club hype or seed hype, right? Like, or any protocol in HyperEVM, like Felix, for example, Felix hype, Hyperlens.
Let's go back to seed hype there for a second.
Yeah.
That sounds bullish. That sounds bullish.
It's a good narrative. That's a good narrative.
We like that. That sounds a good
Yeah,
name.
And I think the funny part about that as well that makes launch even more exciting, especially from that POV, right, of launching your own permissionless LST and not needing to have to run your own HIP-3 exchange, which, by the way, again, like I said, is extremely daunting, extremely technically intensive. You should be able to have, your community, whether you're a validator or a protocol, be able to back you or just be part of your distribution or be the ultimate community member by staking with you specifically. And if you do care for whatever reason, like this may be core part of the strategy or something, you can type into the HIP-3 capabilities. This is like overall what we believe the launch platform should be able to offer in a very comprehensive and straightforward way for all types of teams. Again, it doesn't matter if you're a validator or a DeFi protocol on HyperEVM with $500 million in TVL. You should be able to basically launch your own LST, own your distribution, split the economics with your stakers and like have as much fun with it as you can. So a lot to come from that POV.
Having fun with LSTs.
Yeah, for sure. It's been done in other ecosystems in really interesting ways, and we believe that on Hyperliquid it can be done in equally fun, if not more fun way. I mean, Hyperliquid is so interesting because you have this burgeoning DeFi ecosystem tied to the most degenerate place on chain, right? Like there's nothing like it, right? I mean, it's really like
literally left and right curve at the same time.
It's extremely funny. I mean, whenever you see like market volatility, you'll see people like always complain like, like we're like adjacent to a perp dex, which is hilarious. And this insanely virtuous cycle for Hyperliquid because it just continues to claw back all of the fee revenue and like continue to just plow it into the hype token. That's why that feeds into what I mentioned a few minutes ago about being significantly higher. I think whatever volatility is ahead of us significantly benefits Hyperliquid in many, many, many ways. So yeah, and the crazy part about that and like why it's so fun building on HyperEVM is all the teams building in this ecosystem get the downstream effects from that. So anyway, that's my tidbit.
$100 million in fees on Hyperliquid over the last 30 days.
Yeah, ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It just gets plowed into hype, right? So
when did hype actually go live? Because I'm looking at cumulative fees here.
Hype went live.
Has it been a year?
The token itself went live on. Yeah, it's basically a month out from a year today.
Right. So $750 million in fees generated in the first year.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely ridiculous.
That's pre-HIP-3, right? If some of these like long tail perps markets start getting a bunch
pre-HIP-3, exactly. So HIP-3 has been live for a matter of weeks. And I mean, HIP-3 was announced in May of this year. So if we just look at the life cycle of hype over its first year in existence, and obviously, let's be real, it's been a very choppy year. We can only imagine what it looks like when things are very much on a clear up and to the right trajectory. This should get really ridiculous at some point.
Inject that bullishness into my veins, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, trust me. We could go on for a very long time.
It was so crazy seeing some folks on I think ICO Beast yesterday I don't know if he was just in his feels out there just thinking, lamenting the game being done. I'm like,
oh man,
you're new, bro. Are you new? Like this is
never done, man. Yeah.
You just feel this every couple months, and then you go, oh yeah, cool. There's a new game. Let's go lean in there.
Yeah, it's extremely
no crying in the
subjective.
Casino, ICO Beast.
No crying in the casino. No crying in the casino for sure.
All right, let's leave it there. We'd love to check back in with you. We love just sort of. I mean, I think Josh was saying you're up, 2x on TVL since we talked with you last time, which means we were early, allowed our audience to be early. Excited just to see where this is in 6 months or so. So we'll definitely check back in with you. Congrats on all the progress, and
appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, I like how you guys are showing up here. I think the focus. I still have such deep belief in long-term minded teams that just see a huge business opportunity and are going to do everything to go run at that, regardless of the demands that a community may have or expectations or what other people are doing or where the market is, etc. So bullish.
Yeah, man.
Bullish.
Thanks a lot, guys. Really, seriously, thanks for the time. All the best, and see you soon here again.
Deal.
Beautiful.
Thanks,
Peace, sir.